Indicates an important announcement.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to your Monday night's edition of Talking Town, the Extra Time Show. That's right, the flagship show that got so big it needed extra time. We have got a jam-packed show. I say it every single Monday, but every single Monday I always say, I was worried when we started these shows if we'd have enough content to fill a show. And Ipswich Town Football Club said, hold my beer, we will give you content, and my days do they. But today the content come from a different direction. You know, we are going to end the show discussing this absolute, I'll let you tell me what you feel about the idea, but the Super Six idea that it was. We've got Charles from the Talking Cobblers podcast coming on to discuss some Northampton. We've got loads of stuff going on. Before I go any further, those you can of course support the show on Ko-Fi. I've got 3 names I must give a quick shout out to because they're not yet on that list. But that's Rob Bugg, Brendan Carter, and Daryl. Thank you so much for kindly donating and supporting the channel monthly. You'll be on that list as soon as I can. As always, this is an interactive show where we ask you all to either get in touch, use the link and get on the show, or get busy in the active chat. Stephen Parry, the chairman of the Alex Gilead Association, doesn't see something happening. The Super Six, I believe it is. Callie, 8:30, and the Gov is late. Not saying women take long to get ready or anything. This hair doesn't just happen. This hair doesn't just happen. The ladies were here. They were here before I was. They were ready. They were pumped. Joshua Phillips, hello again, my friends, and you are my friends. Correct, Josh. Love it. I think there's the thing in Super League. Basically, Colchester, Ipswich, and Norwich play each other again and again. Oh God, no, not. We're not quite. I'm not quite ready for that sort of disappointment just yet. When Freddie Sears moves to Colchester and scores a hat-trick on his debut. Lee Anderson, agree, Matt Class from our owners. Callie Bisler, who's coming to Northampton tomorrow. We're only 4 points off first place. The 6 T's already been moved to the championship. Well, lots to unpack. Let's get straight into it. First of all, joining me is our resident Queen of Hearts, Queen of the Cider. Amy. How you
Hello,
doing?
hello. I don't think I've got any cider left in my house after the lovely sunny weekend that we've just had. I know. I'm on the old water. What is going on?
You must have had a particularly heavy one Saturday because you must have been so far gone. You went past the live stage because there was no live from what I can tell in the early hours of Saturday night.
Yeah.
Normally, you build up to it and then it's the right time. Saturday night, 1 p.m. Boom, Amy Dams is live on Facebook. You must have gone past that point because
I think I got tucked up in bed somewhere around 10 o'clock because it was like, right, okay, it's been going for a while now. I need to go to sleep.
grandma. Michael Finch, Trust Glitch is my son, Gov. Oh, Michael, you got a good one there. Luke, Ipswich Premier League champions 2024. Callie, Queen of Alcohol. Stephen, Amy, the cider drinker. Colin, hi, lovely Amy. Oh, Colin says hi. Colin the goat. Hi, Queen Amy. Lots of love for you. We'll bring the third member of the group this evening.
I've seen the comment from Michael Finch.
That's neat, Jean. Don't be fooled. It could well be. It is Amy. We can't verify it because they don't do smell-o-vision just yet, but we'll take her word for it. It's Yorkshire's finest water. Talking of Yorkshire, we are joined by No Filter Yorkshire v Vicky Henderson. Next time you get an intro, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Are you?
Very well. Are we on anything particular this evening, drink-wise?
Council pop for me.
Council pop, love it.
For those that perhaps don't know what council pop is, can you please fill us in?
Just water, just tap water. It's in my cup, though,
right.
in my Ipswich cup.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Amy, give us away, says Colin.
Hi, Colin.
Oh, good man, Colin.
Love
George...
to see you, Colin.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get on with it. Sorry, the test call has just arrived. I've just been asked. We've got really short dates on it. I don't know. Go with it, love. Go with it. Right. Charlton, weekend, Saturday, 0-0 draw. We sit here on a Monday night. I always like to start with that and sort of unpack it, how we're feeling about it now. Was it a good 0-0? Was it a good point, Amy? Or was it, again, another chance where we really should have taken all three and didn't? Or maybe we were just lucky to come over the point. How did you feel about Charlton on Saturday now, looking at it?
I think before the game, I said that this felt like a last chance saloon. Cook had quite rightly taken them apart during the week, and for me it was, if I see any players not putting in their absolute best, if I hear about any of them not performing well, then that's it. I don't ever want to see them play again. And in true Ipswich style, they have limped through with a slightly marginally better performance by all accounts. So I don't know myself because I was sat listening to your Wetherspoons. But right. I've tried to catch the highlights and to see what everyone's saying, and I've enjoyed catching up on the Kings of Anglia podcast today. Actually, it's really interesting hearing Mike Bacon's view because it's one of the first games he's seen in a while, so it was interesting to hear what he said. And I just think it's very us, isn't it? Like, we couldn't really do, come out with a brilliant performance, but just enough just to like tide us over. Season's over. It was at Christmas as far as I'm concerned, but at least we're not completely like faltering and being battered every week. At least, just once every so often we're getting the 3-0 defeats.
Two interesting comments there, Vicky. First of all, I mentioned Cook's press conference. Were you surprised at the team he selected after the comments he made on Friday, particularly Grandad Ward, Stephen Ward as captain?
Yeah, that surprised me a little. I do think that the game was marginally better, but then it couldn't have got any worse, could it, than the Tuesday before? I mean, that was just so bad. But it wasn't that good. I sat and watched it and I was bloody bored. There was no excitement. Yep. None at all.
There isn't these days with Ipswich Town. I said on the podcast today, I've sat through so many 0-0s. I didn't want to sit through 0-0 ever again. But Amy's given up. Colin the goat, he's never given up. He comes on every week and says, I'm not giving up. Martin, while it's mathematically possible, I will not be giving up. Vicky, are you like Amy or are you like Colin? Which camp are you in?
Camp Amy.
Oh, so you're giving up. Yes, for you, it's over as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they deserve to be in the top 6, actually. And even if by some miracle they did get there, we're not going to win anything because we can't score. And you have to score to win a match.
Yeah. Simple as that. Yeah, even if an own goal. I mean, we had the own goal from Josh Carson on the show yesterday, and it was a tremendous own goal. But we're not getting any of those. Not getting any luck. Something Paul Cook said after the press conference, Vicky. Luke Chambers. He may have to go away and think about his future. It might be. It's all. He almost indicated, reading between lines, and I'm never good at. It might be an off the field situation coming up. Are you in? Keep Luke Chambers either as a player or a coach, or are you in? Look, he's got to go. Just full stop, because you need to just get rid of that.
I don't think it's any secret that I absolutely love Luke. I think he's done so much for the club. And I know people will disagree, but I personally think that he's been a good captain. Maybe this year, not so much, but, you can only do so much with what's in front of you. So I'd like to see him stay, but not as a player, because I think his time's done.
So you want to see him stay, but not as a player, but as a coach. Amy, are you the same as Vicky there? I'm firmly in the culture at the club is rotten. If you're a part of that, as in any way, shape, or form, even cleaning the boots, you got to go. For me, that's my opinion. What's yours?
I do completely understand where you're coming from, and so I would understand that if it was to move on as part of the past regime. I get that argument completely. For me personally, I think that what Cook said on Saturday was a sign of the respect that the club has for him, and vice versa. This is a player who has been Mr. Ipswich for the last however many years he's been with us. This guy we haven't had anybody like that since the Premier League days. We haven't had anybody that really has been such a good ambassador for the club and someone who loves the club. The other thing to bear in mind, obviously, is like the personal side of things. I think his family are pretty well settled from what the little bits of snippets that I hear about him. I think they enjoy being there. The fact that he's taken a lot of youngsters under his wing to look after them. My argument has always been that he has a lot more influence off the field as much as on it. So I would love to see him carry on as a coach stroke player, but I suspect the big decision for him is going to be whether he wants to play less, because that is clearly, from, like you said, reading between the lines, that's obviously what Cook's suggesting, and I think that's right. I think it's about time now, given his age and everything like that. But he might feel like he can still get another year or two or whatever out of his career, and if he gets the option to, he might well go for that. I don't agree with people who say, look, he's as New Gardner has just said there. I think we just spotted that comment. Totally respect that. I understand that opinion. I don't agree with it. I think that he has been the fact that he has been a strong leader through those tough times, the fact that he hasn't just disappeared off like plenty of our players have, makes me respect him more. And I don't think anybody for a second can say, oh, it's Luke Chambers' fault that we got relegated. Of course it isn't. He's been the best of a bad bunch over the last 5 years, in my opinion, I think. And the fact that he's been played by, what are we now, 5 managers? 5 different managers have chosen him as like on the first team and as their captain. That says a lot to me.
But this is the first.
I actually don't think that he hasn't played that bad. Our defence have been quite good, actually. Yeah. And I think other players have played worse. So those that are continuously picking on Chambers, I think, there's 10 other people that they can equally pick on.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in Yates in a second, because he sadly didn't get on yesterday's show. And as we always say, if you don't get on yesterday's show, you can come over onto this show and have your say first and foremost. As I bring him in now, Yatesy, Luke Chambers, where are you? First of all, how is the leg?
It's healing. It's been up on a cushion all day, but it's healing. It's getting there.
Good man. You rested up.
I walked upstairs. I walked upstairs. I felt a nasty little twinge in my ankle, and then kind of just hobbled. I ended
Run it off, son. Run it off. You'll be fine. Run it off. What we'll do, we'll give you first 5-10 minutes of tonight's show. If you're not sure, we'll pull you off. Don't worry, mate. Luke Chambers for you. Where are you on this conversation?
So, I mean, whilst it's mathematically possible, it's not realistically possible. Whilst it's mathematically possible, I know there was a few people yesterday saying how they'd put Chamber in for his last 5 appearances and therefore he can reach that magic 400. In my opinion, if it's still mathematically possible, whilst I know it's unrealistic, you wouldn't. Why do we have to have this sentimentality? You put on your best 11, so therefore, in my opinion, is Chambers part of your best Ipswich Town 11 for those last 5 games? I wouldn't say so. Like the right back spot, if KVY is fit enough to run it, is your nailed on right back. Your centre back positions there. I mean, we've got enough choice, and I mean, I unfortunately I didn't watch Charlton game. I picked up the highlights. By all accounts, they didn't do too much wrong in that game. That little centre back pairing, but we know Toto is still going to come back into that side. So then, do you then take Wolfenden out for that other centre back role? I don't know. I think, in my opinion, I think he just misses out on that 400 appearance role. Not because I've got anything against the guy, but I think you can appreciate a player for his off-field ability more than you can appreciate him for his on-field. Now, what I would say is, whilst I don't agree with a lot of people who say he's been a bad captain. I don't think he has been a bad captain. I think it'd be wrong and disrespectful to call him a bad captain. What I would say is, over the last 2-3 years, especially this season, he's not been the same Chambers that we all came to love, with the fist pump and the passion you get from him. Like this season, I mean, bearing in mind there's no fans, you barely hear the man. You barely hear the man, whereas in seasons gone by, you'd hear him with 17,000 in the ground. So it shows the decline of what Chambers has had. But like I say,
how about a coach for you? Or do you want a clean sweep? Because if you bring him onto the coaching side, are you handicapping Paul Cook, or are you not? Or are you not?
Well, in my opinion, what are you bringing him to coach people on? So we all know how consistently picked Chambers has been over many years. But I mean, I make a joke out of it, and I say he's only ever been picked because he's probably the one who's been able to stay fit the most out of all of the players we've ever had.
Yeah.
But then you got to think about it in another way. The man's been able to let's not take that lightly. The man's been able to stay fit for however many years due to his lifestyle and whatever he does. Like fair play to the man. He's been one of the most consistent figures. Whether it's, in my opinion, deserved to be in that 11, that's not up to me. It's up to the people who get paid thousands to choose him in that 11 every Saturday and Tuesday. But he's been the one that if needs be, you can rely on. So it depends what you want to get him into coach on. Do you want to get into coach for the defence, or do you want to get into possibly drift off into the fitness side? Because whilst I don't think that's what he will want to do, I do think that he could give certainly a lot of tips to our medical department, our physio department. Because if there's a man to take tips from about his fitness, it's the man who's breaking into the top 10 league appearances for our club. It's a man who's been consistently picked. So I don't know. A bit of me thinks a clean sweep would be better for the club all round, so that therefore we can have a completely fresh slate. But then there's an argument to be said that having a completely new regime I would also say it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous area to have a complete new sweep. I don't know.
Maybe a coach is the wrong word. I don't think the first team is where we should be. I think it should be with the under 18s, under 23s, in some capacity. Maybe coach is just the wrong word that we use. Given
his wisdom. Yeah, I like it. That would appeal to some fans, certainly more than, say, above Terry Butcher, who's working with the under 23s, I believe. Dave Eaton, Chambers has to leave the club. I wouldn't want him coaching mediocrity, because that is one train of thought from some fans, and it's a fair point. Ipswich Town, if we had the investment back then, what we have now, Chambers wouldn't have had that many appearances for us. He would have been well gone. Okay, Chambers is one thing. And Dennis Edwards, has Chambers actually done any coaching badges? Good point. Callie thinks he just deserves it. How about Stephen Ward? Because he's come out today and said, I've got no plans to retire, which indicates he can go one more year, possibly 2. Would you give Stephen Ward a 1-year deal, Curtis?
A 36-year-old who's waned off this season, who's gotten like it's a completely different situation to Chambers. 36-year-old, and he says he's nowhere near retiring. I mean, I'm not being funny. We've all watched him this season. I think he definitely needs to retire within the next couple of years to save face. I wouldn't. I think especially with investment coming in, I don't think Kenlock's going to be our first choice left back next season. I wouldn't. To be honest, I'm going to be quite harsh. I wouldn't keep Ward or Kenlock.
Okay.
I think, like many people have said, I think Kenlock needs to. I think he needs to leave for the good of his career. We've seen Josh Emmanuel leave, and he's got those rave reviews at Hull, which even led to him at one point in this season being called the best right back in the league. Now, Kenlock needs to. A lot of these younger players, and the older ones like your Ward, they need to leave. Like the younger ones more so for their careers, because Ipswich has become a club. Whether you're aging, let's face it, the mentality of the club for years and years under Evans was, we went through a stage of like Paul Jewell getting Dad's Army in, and we get your Nigel Rio-Cocas of the world, you Richie.
Oh God!
We got all these players who were coming to the end, and yet now we've got almost youngsters who they're in that kind of mentality where they're not being challenged. They're not being challenged. They've got nothing to play for, because let's face it, over the many years, whilst we all expect them to progress on the field and we all expect hopefully promotion at the end of every season, was that being fed down to the players? Because I think you can see halfway through the season for the last 10 years, they all wane off. So I don't know. No, Ward for me, definitely not. I think he will need to find another League One club, because for me, a 36-year-old left back is not what you want bombarding someone's opposition.
Ladies, Amy,
why would you keep Ward and get rid of Chambers? What has Ward done that Chambers hasn't? I don't get it. And I'm not saying Chambers should stay, because I'm actually saying I think it is time that Chambers went, but I wouldn't have either.
Mm. Spot on. Yeah, Amy, how about yourself? Because obviously you're a big Chambers fan. Are you an equally as big Ward fan? Would you keep Ward?
I did quite like him at the beginning of the season, but I think the whole team's moved on from then, and he's not done anything at the point where we've needed him to, if that makes sense. Like when we've started to slip, he's slipped as well, and he hasn't made a particularly massive impression on me. He's for me, it's a.
Yeah,
I don't really care either way, to be honest. And I think we need to want the players. And ridiculously, because you would not have caught me saying this 12 months ago, 24 months ago, I would rather give Kenlock the chance personally. But I totally take Yates's point about actually, would he be better off going to a different club and sort of kickstarting his career again?
But as we said yesterday, Amy, Kenlock's under contract still at this football club for another year. So you just go with him, don't you? Even as a reserve, you just say, right, you're under contract. We've got the reserve. We may need to go out and get the first team player, but you're not in the business of ripping up contracts now, are we?
Oh no, I wouldn't have said so. Not for someone like him. He, the games that he has had, he has performed well. He has done. He's probably like the most improved from last year. But that's probably because he was not great last year. But for me, I think that he's maybe probably just done enough for me, because everybody else has done so little, perhaps. But I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. I can't see why I wouldn't be shoving him out the door. Personally.
We talk about how we keep Kenlock, but I for one would actually like to see Kenlock push a move out the club, because I do think there is a very good athletic left back in there, but like I say, I think the cushiness of Ipswich Town Football Club, I don't think it allows him to express his ability. I really don't. And whilst we can all say we'd keep these certain players who are under contract next season, like your Dizels, push for a move away. We don't need to rip up your contract. Just hand in something. A bit like, just say, listen, I need a change of scenery, because this club isn't pushing me. But then again, we've seen it now. I always said with Martin, I said it didn't matter what manager we had. It didn't matter anything we had under Evans. Whereas now the mentality is now shifting. We are getting football people in football roles. And now it's a different time this summer. So everyone's we're a bit flabbergasted as to what we should actually do, because no one knows. We're in a completely different situation than we would be to, let's face it, how we felt this time last month. It was horrendous. So I don't know. I'd like to see some of these younger players. I mean, I'd have loved to see Dobra have gone to Crawley on loan when he got that offer, because I think that would have done him the world of good. I don't think he has progressed as much as some people think he has. I think he's very lightweight, as proven. I think, didn't he get absolutely cleaned out at one point in one of the recent games? And I think they were worried that he'd done his collarbone in. He's very lightweight.
Oh, yeah.
But again, he's young. He's young. So I want to see some of these youngsters push for moves away from the club, get out of the comfort zone, because it's the only way you'll progress. Because, like I say, for the last 10 years, Ipswich has been cushy. It's been cushy for older players and younger players. So, yeah.
All right.
Hopefully it won't be from now on, though. And I think that's part of me that kind of wants Chambers to be able to carry on under the new regime, because he's sort of paid his dues under the crap one. And now it would be nice to see for him to be part of that team that gets promoted next year and then again the year after.
Have a break in our VIP room. I'll come back to you for the Super 6. I know you've got some fiery points on that one. Ladies, I get your point regarding Chambers there, but maybe Kenlock, you say Dazelle will look better in a team surrounded by better players. I think Kenlock would. I think your left back can be only as good as his people in front of him are, and let's be honest, our left side of midfield and our right side, but particularly our left side, it's been woeful for too long, and there's offered little protection going forward, little protection going backwards, and little security in the fact that they're going to hurt the opposition going forward. So, I'm not too sure. But Curtis touched on it there, Vicky, about off the field football people in football positions. We've heard news today that Bristol City's head of operations, club secretary Luke Werhern, is set to leave Bristol City and follow his boss Mark Ashton to Suffolk. Another good move. Is this almost the best backroom team in terms of chairman, chief executive that we've had since the Sheepshanks days? And actually, you've got some security in that there's football brains making football decisions now. Finally,
you'd like to hope so, wouldn't you? I mean, Evans knew nothing and made some really bad decisions. So, Bristol City aren't a Premiership team, but they're way above where we are. So even if they bring a tiny bit of that to us, we're in a better position. And we have to trust what they're going to do. They've got the backing, they've got the money. We've got to hope that it's not the Hurst era ×2, where we have all this wholesale change, but we're just bringing in worse players. I'm genuinely excited about what's going to happen and who we're bringing in, because I think it's different, and I trust Cook more than I did Hurst and the backroom staff that we have going forward.
Yeah, Amy, what are your thoughts on today's development? Another piece of the puzzle, maybe.
It just feels like it's all the plan coming together, doesn't it? And it feels like we've got direction, and the fact that this is that the two of them have worked together at Bristol City, and they're clearly wanting to bring this successful team over, not just one individual that they can afford. It's a team. And I heard somebody talking about him maybe going after his old assistant as well, so bringing somebody else in from past times at Wigan. I can't think what the name was. I'm terrible for names at this time of night, but it just feels like there's a plan. It feels like we're yes, that's the one. Thank you. And we were commenting on that article that was shared on the Ipswich Forum earlier, weren't we? I think it was the Football League paper who was saying Bristol City fans are just like, okay, they've gone to a club in League One. It shows that we are going in the wrong direction. But you quite rightly pointed out, it shows that we are going in the right direction. We are seen as that ambitious that we're able to attract people from a reasonably well-run club. I think Bristol City were, weren't they?
Yeah, you look at Bristol City, Vicky, consistently, you view them as a top 15, top 10 championship side, well run, good transfer business in terms of making money. Never really in danger of falling out of the league. It's a big, bold claim that for once you can say people within the football who know what a good club is when they see one are finally looking at this club and thinking, that's something I want to be a part of.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's exciting. And as a fan, it can only be exciting. Because off the field, that's happening. You think of what the summer may entail, and as I've always said, this would be a really exciting time for the football club. And you're all starting to see that play out in front of you now.
I think we've got to be careful. We're not going to agree on everybody that's going to come in. No. There's going to be lots of debate, and we're not going to attract Premiership people. But with the connections that Mike Ashton's got, I think we can certainly get some Championship players to come to us because of the vision. But we do have to be careful about every appointment that's made, because it's not going to... Are you all right, Amy?
Sorry.
Amy Downs, that's disgraceful. But you are right, Vicky. And if you look at Bristol City's transfer record, it's a lot of young players mixed in with a bit of experience. So you're talking your Nathan Bakers from Villa in the Premier League, age 31, mixed in with Adam Webster from Ipswich Town in League One, age 23. You're looking at a few continental additions that are between 20 and 24. That if they hit the ground running as you hope they should, they're going to be worth a lot more in the future. It's a real vibrant collection of players, and that's the exciting thing. But we have got League One to get through first. Short corner, which tomorrow we are travelling to Northampton. Our first visit to Sixfields, believe it or not. Before we begin, Charles from It's All Cobblers. What are we expecting, Amy, tomorrow from town from you?
Oh, I don't even know. You go to. You get a 3-0 defeat, then you get a 0-0 away against one of the better teams in the league. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd like to see the same team play because they showed that they could perform well. I just think you can guarantee it's against trying to think of the most respectful way of saying this, because I'm conscious that there is one of their fans about to come on, but a smaller club, if it's not too big-headed to say that. So you can guarantee that we're all expecting it to be a win, and it won't. It'll be a last-minute defeat or something ridiculous like that. I've stopped caring, and I've not stopped caring, but I've stopped predicting, because I just don't think whatever happens tomorrow.
You go unchanged? Would you go unchanged with your 11?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Vicky, how about yourself? Would you go unchanged with your 11?
Yeah, I mean, they were marginally improved, so there's no reason to not stick with that team. The problem that we've got with playing teams that are at the lower end of the division is that they're fighting for their lives, and they show passion. True. They come out and it's like their cup game.
Charles is not agreeing. Charles is not agreeing. Charles, welcome in, my man. Apparently, we're expecting passion. And what was it, Vicky? A bit of fighting for your life. Is that what we get from Northampton?
Yeah, you've not seen us, have you?
No, we haven't. How you doing, my man? So what do we expect from them?
Well, as much as the club are saying you're going to expect fight and passion and commitment and all the usual kind of stuff, I'm not seeing it. Basically, what you're saying is exactly how we feel, except we've got the threat of relegation on our hands. You guys, I appreciate Ipswich are in a league that they shouldn't be in. And it therefore is probably pretty bad for you guys the last couple of years.
Awful.
But at the end of the day, the way that I feel is pretty much exactly the same way as you guys do, except we're at the other end of the table. I'd give my left arm and my right leg to give your position a go. It'd be lovely to be sat there moaning about my old schoolmate Luke Chambers and all this, that, and the other. So yeah, it's.
We will make you look like Barcelona. Trust me.
It's not possible.
You say that now.
Well, we made AFC Wimbledon look like Barcelona only last week, so we didn't do you any favours there. We've not done you any favours all the way through this. Actually, we played Wigan and gave them a point. We played Bristol. We beat Rovers, but we got beat by AFC Wimbledon. So I can only apologise for my absolute inept team. But who are the danger men for Northampton to be wary of if you're a town fan tomorrow night?
No
one. You see, it's
No,
better-
I'm
it's
jo-
better
I am
from you
joking.
than me. You see, if I say it, it sounds arrogant.
Right, so essentially, the issue that we've got, apart from the fact that we're not good enough, is that we've not got a big squad, a big enough squad, and then couple that with the fact that we've been decimated by injuries. John Brady, our manager, came out today and said that essentially the players are we've got players that are playing 60 minutes who should only be getting like 15 minutes max at the end of the match. We've got players playing 90 minutes who should only really be getting 45. Literally, the guys are running through pain just to get these football matches played by professional footballers. And when you look at the fact that we're not good enough with our senior squad for this league, you're not going to throw your kids in. You guys were talking earlier about maybe wanting to see some of your academy players. Like we say that all the time. We've got a fairly decent academy. A few players have come through in recent years. Ivan Toney being the most notable one.
Yeah.
So there are those players that maybe coming through. It's just whether or not we will get to see them or whether they'll end up, at some big club under the EPPP, whatever that is.
Ipswich.
I said a big club, and it's one of those. It's one of those where you just sort of go, right. The players are really hurting. If he's fit, he started his first game for us on Friday night. Alex Jones, striker. He looks a bit of a different class. Now, I'm sure we'll bring him down to our level soon enough if he stays with us. But he does. He looks like he's that little bit of extra spark. He looks a bit more League One quality than most of our players do. And I think, although the one thing that we've got an issue with is creating chances. So on Friday against Peterborough, we looked okay. We were passing the ball around, but we were no threat whatsoever on the posh goal.
Jesus,
that's our problem.
This has got 0-0 written all over it, hasn't it?
Again.
Please.
Do you know the stat about how long it is since we last scored?
Over 3 hours. 7 hours.
I thought it was up to 7 now. It's
be
over
longer.
7. It's ridiculous.
It's been too long. It's been far too long. Were you surprised, Charles, when you gave Keith Curley's marching orders?
No. On the game that we got rid of him, we lost to Wigan at home, and I'd been quite an ardent fan or supporter, at least. Maybe not a fan of Keith Curl, but met him a few times doing the podcast, and he's a very nice guy, and he always was very honest. But he's a politician-style football manager. He doesn't give anything away. He talks about jigsaws and waves, and rather than talk about injured players, he'd blame the fact that our physio, Nacho, is Spanish and doesn't speak enough English to be able to tell him what's going on with the injuries and stuff. But, it's funny the first couple of times you've heard it, but after a while it gets a bit, just tell me how long he's out for, please. But the last game was the final straw, that Wigan defeat at home. It was a terrible game. Both sides were awful. But we'd gone through, the Christmas period. I know we had our match and it wasn't that bad a result for us. Obviously, it was terrible for you guys.
Yeah, 0-0 was fucking shite result. Shite game.
Yeah, but, at least Dan Deadman decided to liven it up for us, eh?
Oh, so, yeah.
It was one of those. But other than that, we got hammered 4-0 twice, Lincoln and Oxford. Crew beat us 2-1. It was a terrible, terrible Christmas period. And, he deserved to go in the end. But in hindsight, now looking at it, and I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to get the sack, but he didn't have very much to play with, like in terms of budget, in terms of the players that we let go last season when we got promoted. I mean, we sold Charlie Good to Brentford for £1.5 million, or
good
money rising up to. We just didn't replace them. With good enough players. And this sums up our entire season, really. We loaned Joe Nuttall from Blackpool at the start of the season. He played 45 minutes in the first round of the League Cup against Cardiff City. We've not seen him since.
Sounds like Ipswich.
I don't know where he is.
He does.
Literally don't know where
We've got
he
a
is.
player like that. He's called Emmy Hughes. No one knows where he's gone either. They're hanging out together.
It's just it's comical when you look at it, and it's so hard to be a fan when this sort of stuff's going on. I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, you've got new owners, so maybe it's going to be slightly different kettle of fish for you soon. But the one thing that we all want and we're crying out for is just more transparency. The club released the annual accounts at the end of March. And there was more transparency. There was more than what they legally have to put into. And I did a podcast with Kieran Maguire, the Price of Football guy. And he said, it's good. You've got some more transparency there in these accounts, but it doesn't quite go as far as, we'd really love it to. He doesn't want necessarily you to say how much each player's getting paid or what your manager's getting paid, but it would be nice to just see a breakdown of what your money is being spent on and where your income's coming from, even if it just said playing staff and a figure, and then, I don't know, match day sales, ticket sales, confectionery stands and that kind of thing. That'd do it. So we're slowly getting there with that. But then how far do you go with that transparency is obviously a big question, and there's always going to be that argument or that fight to get the 50-50 in, between the fans, what the fans want and what the club are willing to give. But we've had such a rough time of it over years in terms of finances that it's got to a point now, and especially because we're doing so badly on the pitch, you guys all know, you lose games, then you start moaning about other things that aren't anything to do with your players. Happens at every club in the country.
Yeah.
But
Mick McCarthy used to say, winning masks everything.
Yeah, it really does. And sometimes it's annoying because what you get is you get a win, and it'll be a good win. And then what you want is to sort of not forget that there's a stand half finished, but you're kind of on that high of the fact that, you've won a game of football. That's brilliant. Doesn't happen very often. So you forget about the fact the stand's not done for a week. But then you get hammered the week afterwards and you suddenly realise, oh yeah, that stand's still there.
Yeah. Mike Fuller would like to know, could we leave Cornell in Northampton tomorrow night? Would you mind?
I would take him in a heartbeat. Honestly.
Really?
Honestly. Oh, do you know? So I know that my podcast colleague Neil came on at the
He hammered
pre-season.
him. He killed him.
And it was great fun to watch him do it. However, what we've been left with is just, if you think Di Cornell's bad, you wait till you watch Jonathan Mitchell. Oh, man. Crikey. He's on loan from Derby. How he thinks he's going to go and play for, he'll be in League One next season with Derby, won't he, by the looks of it? How he's going to start for Derby, I've got no idea. So, yeah, even though Cornell divided the fan base a little bit and was always deemed as being, though he's only a number 2, he's not good enough for number 1, I'd take him back in a heartbeat. I really would.
If you go back and watch that video, you see a flicker in my eyes go out that day when I'm asking this guy, and I'm thinking, right, I'm about to hear these absolute over the top. Oh, he's this, that, and the other. He's just shit, mate. Just absolute shit. As you hear, Charles, I'm going to bring in hard truth. Matt Phillips, Richard Moss. Move it on to the Super 6 debacle, debate, discussion, and grab all of your thoughts, really, on what you feel as a football fan. I can't come to you first, Crunchy, because you're always never short of an opinion. What do you make of this absolute? Well, what do you make of it?
It makes you sick, doesn't it? Because it's just agreed. The rich getting richer. You think mine, the clubs that have gone under of late, you've got Macclesfield, you've got Bury, needing 750 to $1 million. And these people are talking about, 3.8 billion they're getting to join it.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. You see tonight, I see Leeds wearing the T-shirts tonight. Klopp's against it because they've gone. This is the thing that I don't like. They've come out yesterday, but all these owners are hiding, aren't they? None of them have come out and spoken. And tonight, it's left to the Liverpool manager. It's obvious they're going to ask him, and he's been against it. He was against it last season, and it's just where's football going to go? Because where's your dream of your Leicester City, winning the Premier League against all odds, 5,000 to 1. Where's that all going to go? West Ham getting in the Champions League possibly this season. It's like they're spitting in the face of every single football fan out there, Martin.
Yeah. Well, Matt, but Matt, they're saying, look, guys, we're going to form our own Tuesday competition, but come back to you on a Saturday. It's okay. We'll still come back to you. Does that work for you?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to work for the authorities, is it? Because, they're talking about expelling them from the Premier League and the players won't be able to play in the World Cup or the Euros or something. It's no surprise to me that Florentino Perez, who's the president of Real Madrid in his 5th term, is the guy who's now chairman of this Super League, because he's somehow managed to get Real Madrid into 901 million euros of debt.
Exactly.
As alluded to there, they want to divvy up 3.1 billion across 15 clubs. That'll soon get them out of debt. I mean, Barcelona's even worse right now. They're over $1 billion in debt. And so unless this is like a lifesaver for them, because you look at the football landscape post-pandemic for those two clubs, it looks quite bleak, on the verge of bankruptcy. So you can see why they've been quite quick to sign up.
Yeah, Charles, it's a lot like. Well, what is it a lot like? I've never seen something going so brazen. Have you?
I don't really get it, to be honest. I mean, I asked a question on Twitter earlier today. I said, right, so I'm 36. I had to think about that then. That's bad. So I don't really remember what it was like when the Premier League was formed. So I asked on Twitter, I said, I'm not quite old enough, but was it like this when the Premier League was being talked about and all that? And people, several answers, different people. Some people saying, well, if there was social media, then maybe. But everybody essentially looked at it as just being a case of, yes, it was a breakaway league and stuff, but there was still open access to it. There's still that relegation. There's still, up and downs that can happen to get into it. This isn't like this whole thing of like going, we'll make up the 20 by getting 5 essentially invitational spots every season. Yes. for teams that, you've done all right, love, you can come in, why not, come on, come join the club for a year. Yeah, right. I mean, I'm not being funny, but I mean, I love the fact that German clubs have just turned around and said, no, bog off, just go away, not interested in it. And I know that they've got this fan 50+1 ownership thing going on, which there's several fans of our club that have been talking about wanting that to be implemented with us, or in the English Football League anyway. I mean, it's not something that I think will ever happen, because it's more of that's how it is in Germany, and it's been like that for decades, whereas here we've got that institution set. It's not right the way it's done. There are things that we need to do better, but at the same time, you're not going to get every single club in the country turn around and just go, yeah, sure, we'll give you the fans 50%+1 ownership. It's never gonna happen. And I just look at it now and think, it literally, my missus is a Man United fan, right? And it's really quite difficult.
How have you allowed
seeing
that?
her. Well, she's a proper United fan. She's not one of these that lives miles away.
She knows where it is. Fair enough.
She knows where it is. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So it's not too bad, but she's apoplectic about this, because she's just like, I can't believe that, as much as they're not happy with the Glazers and never have been, they can't believe that there's other people on the board who are well aware of what it means to the fans and what that football club means to not just people in Manchester, people in Trafford and so on, but the whole of the country. We all know that there's United fans, most of them living in London. We all know that they are, well, nowadays it's more like Dubai, isn't it? But, we know for a fact that there's Man United fans everywhere you bloody look.
Yep.
Thing is, though, is that they all want to support that team. And I know that there's going to be a handful of them that will be like, well, I'll just watch them anyway. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what division they're in or what league competition they're in or whatever. That's my fear, is that actually fans like us, who are of this generation, we're all here and we're all fine and we all know what football means, and we support our local club, or at least the club that we were local to, or, fathers and mothers turned around and said, that's who you support. Tough crap. It's, you've got to live with it now. I've lived with it for so long. You're now going to have the misery too.
You're going to suffer as well.
Yeah, it's your turn.
You're going to get to a point where there's going to be people that just sit in front of their TV watching an American-style soccer, because that's what it's going to be. Yeah. And I mean, I quite like watching the NFL sometimes, but it's a closed shop. They all play each other every single year. It's the same teams every year. You play the same matches. You end up then either, Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl. That's it. Every year it's the same old thing.
This is it, Charles. We've just got American owners, and they've been trying to break into the MLS for a couple of years now. And obviously that's a bit like it. You've got to apply to join it, etc. Vicky, what would you do with these football clubs? If you were the FA right now, you've got to set a precedent. Surely you've got to set the template for the future to move from. Would you fine them, deduct them points? What would you do? Because there's rumours tonight that the Champions League teams will be disqualified straight away. Whether that happens, I don't know. But what would you do if you were
all
the
of
FA?
it? Kick them out, fine them, do the lot. They're just dirty out there. They've sold the soul down the river, and they don't belong with those clubs. It's just disgusting.
Okay.
Don't you think, I remember 20 years ago, Man City were at Wembley playing Gillingham in a League One playoff.
Yeah, but the owners don't remember that.
They're not a big club. Man City are not a big club. Chelsea are not a big club. They're not big clubs. They're only big clubs because they've got dirty money. That's why they are where they are. Spurs, that is laughable that they're in the top six. Spurs have not won a fucking trophy for years. We won the league title.
Yeah.
Arsenal can't even beat Fulham yesterday, struggling around, scraping around ninth in the Premier League. Piss off. Get rid of a lot of them. I'd say if you want to go, you make your own bed, you're not coming back. I'd go to Scotland. I'll get Celtic and Rangers down here, put them in our league, and then let's go and get rid of them.
Kurt, what would you do?
I agree. I agree with everyone. I'd bin them all off. I mean, I'm not being funny, with the information that's come out, these are teams that supposedly agreed to a set of rules at the start of each season that they compete in certain competitions, and now not only have they gone behind the backs of all football associations in charge, they've now all decided amongst themselves that this is the top six. These are the top six. What gives you the right to call yourself the top six? Well, I'm not like you said. We've seen a lot of jokes and everything about how Arsenal haven't won a European trophy, and yet even we've won a European trophy. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. What this is it's devaluing getting to the Premier League. It's devaluing the likes of. I mean, for example, I remember when we went to Old Trafford in the cup. Yeah, I watched my team get absolutely tanked 3-0. But I enjoyed watching my team getting tanked 3-0 because I watched my team at Old Trafford, and as an Ipswich fan at this point, we don't get the opportunity to go to these grounds and enjoy ourselves. So when you come along and you class yourself as bigger than any other club in the country, and you think you have the right to space yourself off from everyone else, it's disrespectful to your own set of fans. Never mind every other club in the country. I mean, let's face it, it's a franchise league. So we hear about, well, who wants to face Real Madrid 10 times a season? Let's face it, they're not going to be going to Bernabeu and Old Trafford. If you think they're going to be going to Bernabeu and Old Trafford, you're joking, because they won't. It'll be a touring league.
Beijing, Tokyo.
They'll be going to California. They'll be going to LA. They'll be going to Tokyo. They'll go to Japan, Dubai. They'll be going everywhere they can, because it's all about advertising and getting more fans in to buy up the merchandise. It's not about reaching. It's not about reaching a new set of quality. And I mean, Klopp's comments made me laugh tonight. Or like yesterday was the first I'd heard about it. Bollocks. You're chatting utter bollocks. You are the manager of Liverpool Football Club. You of all people do not hear about this yesterday of all times. So when you come out to the fans tonight and say, "Oh, my opinion hasn't changed," your opinion might change, but you're lying barefaced to all the fans and saying, "Oh, it's the first I've heard about it." Absolutely bollocks. You would have had to have been in talks with the owners. They wouldn't have sprung this on you. And if you are angry, tell you what, bin the job off. I'll have more respect for you if you bin that job off, but you won't, because from what's been reported, you're getting what is it, 3.5 billion?
Can I just go back to Charles, because I think Charles slightly disagrees with a couple of points there. Is that right, Charles? You got something to come back on there?
Only on right. So don't get me wrong. I completely, think it's abhorrent, and on all this. However, talking about kicking out the six. So first of all, the top six thing is money alone. It's not the fact that they've won trophies or anything like that. You know, most of them aren't even in the top four of the Premier League at the moment, for goodness sake.
Arsenal are ninth.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it is a joke. I mean, Tottenham, you know, come on, that's ridiculous. But in terms of finance, they probably are the top six, and that's what it comes down to. That's all it is about, is just money. I can't remember, forgive me, who it was that was saying it very well about, you know, how it will sort out everybody's debt and stuff. Spot on. That is exactly what it is.
Matt
but
Phillips.
The problem is if we kick them out of the English football system, then actually it's going to be maybe not yourselves. You've got now some new owners. I don't know that much about them, but I presume they've got a bit of money behind them to be able to have you guys as a club. They've certainly chosen you over us, so you know they must have a bit more money.
Well, that weren't hard, was it?
Exactly. But you know, it's clubs like mine that I worry about. If you kick out the top six, we'll call them that for now. If you kick them out, then the bargaining power of, you know, the Premier League and English football for the TV deals is diminished by having, you know, six, or I joked earlier and was saying, you know, 5 of the best teams in the country historically. We'll forget about Spurs. As soon as you get rid of those, then the bargaining power goes down. Sky aren't going to turn around and pay the same amount of money as they did beforehand without those 4, 5, 6 teams in it, because what's in it for them? Who wants to watch Southampton versus Burnley at a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday night? Fucking no one. So I mean, it's just they're not going to pay the money to be able to actually. Well, yeah, okay, fine, but I mean, if they were actual fans, they'd be at the ground, wouldn't they? So you know, it's one of those things where you actually just look at it and you just go, it's going to harm us as clubs further down the pyramid, because while there is still the issue where the money isn't distributed fairly enough and there isn't as equal as it should be, and we've got that to work out, if you took it away completely, guarantee you that we'd probably go bust tomorrow. So that's us gone. Now, I know that you guys as Ipswich fans don't care about Northampton Town, and that is absolutely fine.
I do.
But as soon as we go, and as soon as Shrewsbury go, and as soon as Accrington go, what league are you in? Who are you playing? Who do, you know, at that point, you then have to actually probably go and form your own league with the teams that are actually left. Now, that may well be the Championship teams plus yourselves, Sunderland, Charlton, and that be about it. But it's not going to be English football. It's going to be exactly what we've all basically shouted about and said, this is awful with the European stuff. But it's going to be here at home. And that's the problem that I've got, is that as much as, yes, it's terrible, what we need to do is we need to find a way. Dock them points. I completely see that. Dock them points and say that is ridiculous. Turn around and say, you know, the FIFA have already said, or UEFA said, haven't they, the players won't be allowed to play in the international competitions. That will do something, because then the players won't want to play for those teams. The players won't want to play in those competitions, because they then won't be allowed to go and play in the World Cup, or they won't be able to play on the European Championships. That's where you've got to hit them, but you've also got to hit them financially. So that you've got to do that to make sure that they haven't got any players that are worth watching for people to go and pay to watch this Super League. And then you've also got to turn around and go, right, okay, well, if you're going to have £3.5 billion next year, thanks very much. HMRC will be in touch.
Yeah. You see, my only come back to that, I suppose, would be before bringing Amy in for some comments. Live sport is one of the only things advertisers these days want to pay for, because everything else is on catch up, and you can watch it without adverts. You can catch it up whenever. Whereas live sport is still the one thing that consistently brings people to a screen, because it's live. You can't catch it. You can hear about it, but you're not going to hear it and see it in the moment, and all of those things. And depending on severity of kicking out, and I'm talking, if you say, right, you know, expulsion from the league, you reapply at the very bottom. There's all those players that have contract that disperses it amongst the leagues. You've got wealth distribution. It could be a really good reset point for English football that we've all been crying out for a long time. But you made some really good points there, Charles. Amy, what do you think about it all? as we close
I
the
think,
show.
to be honest, I think you've just summed it up really nicely. This could be the turning point. For me, football's been heading for capitulation for a long, long time with the money in the Premier League and the money versus what we've got down in League One and below. We're seeing clubs going out of business. We're seeing clubs go into administration, and it's the norm. I remember when it was Pompey years ago and Wimbledon, and you just think, that seems like such a long time ago now, and now it's becoming the norm, and maybe this is the way of hitting the reset button. And as far as I'm concerned, them top six, the super six, good riddance to bad rubbish, not bothered. See you later if you think you're that much better. There was a brilliant tweet earlier. You are no longer fans of your football club, you are customers from this point onwards, and I think that absolutely hit the nail on the head. And I just wonder if without them we can kind of reclaim football a bit. We can get the wages back down to something sensible, because we know, particularly in our league, we know that wages are a real strain on the clubs, and that's what we're really struggling with, particularly like the lower down in the league. Everyone was saying we had a big advantage because of our big wage bill, but something I just feel like without those big clubs that do attract those ridiculous wages, maybe we might be able to start evening it out. And I think in terms of people like turning into sofa fans, if they want to be armchair fans, leave them to it, but we are still going to have thousands and hundreds and thousands of us still going. Now, look at all of us. We're never going to sit down and watch it on the telly, are we? Because it is not the same as being there. So that experience will still be there, and maybe we can claim some of it back for football fans. Maybe I'm being very, very naive as well, and I completely I loved hearing what you were just saying, Charles. But I just think perhaps it could be a good turning point to settle things out. And honestly, I just think sack them off. We've hated them all for so many years now. But when you were just saying everywhere you turn down there's a Man United fan. Well, as somebody who lives up north, there ain't any up here. They're all blooming Leeds fans around where we are, but they. I've not been able to. I've had a bit of a soft spot for Arsenal at some points over the years, but I think I kind of like the fact that they're a bit shit, and that's why I'm kind of waiting for them to maybe turn it around one day. But it just all feels so far away from us. I don't really know how to get passionate about it. But I completely see what you've just been saying about how that is then going to filter down the leagues.
Even now, we're in a pandemic. This is what doesn't sit well with me. You've got clubs absolutely fighting for their lives just to survive, and that lot don't give a fucking toss.
Yeah, I agree more. And I think Matt's just hit the nail on the head. That's probably partly why it's all sort of skipped forward. I said to Luke earlier today, I was like, I think they've just been sat twiddling their thumbs for 12 months, haven't they? They've got bored and they've decided, right, okay, what can we do now to make ourselves some more money? And they are probably thinking, right, okay, we've had a real hit to the coffers this last year. We need to do something spectacular, particularly those who are under so much debt. And this is something that those people at the top have been wanting to get through for years. This has been in the rumour mill for ages. And the pandemic, as with a lot of things going into complete spiraling out of control into destruction, the pandemic has allowed it to come to the fore. And I think it's either going to go everybody completely protest against it, but like you say, with the wages involved, why people aren't going to, are they? The players aren't going to. Maybe for the honour of playing for their country, but do they even care about that anymore? Champions League surely is like the pinnacle of a player's career, I would say, over playing for England.
But even that, Amy, even the Champions League now is so big that, look, we all remember when it was the European Cup and it was just the Champions. And now you've got so many teams in it. I think they're on about making that bigger, aren't they, Matt?
They
will increase the competition, don't they? Yeah. Well, you could argue that this Super League's come into being as a bargaining chip against how you.
Well, that's what Simon Jordan said today on Talk Sport. They're using this as leverage for that.
It seems quite far down the line for leverage to me, though.
Well,
it seems to me clubs like Arsenal and Tottenham, who aren't going to be qualifying for European football, are pulling the drawbridge up. And Juventus, who are thinking, in the fourth in the Serie A. Yeah. These clubs, they fear that if they lose their status, if you like.
Yeah.
They don't want West Ham in the Champions League because that's West Ham getting that money, not them, and it makes them stronger. And
you're right, Martin. You only have to look around Europe to see that West Ham now could be in the Champions League, Atalanta could be back in the Champions League. Sevilla could be in the Champions League. They're now taking spots of the bigger clubs, and they don't want it. Which is why you got VAR came in, because people want black and white. They don't want grey. Those clubs infiltrating those top 4 spaces creates grey for the bigger teams.
Look at Leicester. Every fan loves Leicester. Every top owner hates Leicester. Because that's the team that was weak, that is now strong, and is one of them. And it's not one of them, it's an outsider that's one of them. And it's almost like a sheep in wolf's clothing. And I don't like that.
That's what football's all about.
It is as a fan, but not as a multi-billionaire, it isn't.
No, I know. But the dream of a fan is getting to where Leicester and Ipswich. If this happened and Ipswich getting where Leicester is, we've got no chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. Right. We're done. We're done. Nice little show there, guys. Any final thoughts as we close up? Score prediction for tomorrow.
I'm happy watching Town now. You know, you got all these big wigs. 7 hours without a goal. Who really gives a toss? We're proper fans. That lot can get in.
Absolutely. Score predictions. Vicky, you go first.
0-0.
0-0. Amy.
Oh, after what Charles has told us earlier, it's got to be a 0-0, hasn't it? Got to be. Or maybe I might stick with my prediction earlier. They're going to get it'll roll in off someone's arse into it, and we'll lose.
We need that. We need that right now. We so need that. Charles, how about yourself?
7-0 Cobblers, obviously. I've lulled you all into a false sense of
security. I wouldn't put it past you.
With your goalie, you haven't. Matt?
I'm hoping we could just sneak it 1-0. We won't score more than 1 goal. We're not having more than 2 shots. You've got to think we won't score more than 1 goal.
Crunch.
1-0.
2-0 Northampton.
And Kurt?
I'm going 1-0 Northampton.
1-0 Northampton. Okay. I just want a goal. I want a goal. That's all I want. And we're back tomorrow with a match day ticket, 6:30. Myself, Mr. Positivity, and Stephen Thompson. Guys, thank you. Girls, thank you. Chat, thank you so much. And until tomorrow, adios, amigo.
Bye.